Okay, we're going to go over some highlights of Tour of America's Dairyland Day 5 in Bayview, the Cat 3-4. So as much as the last race in Manitowoc I had learned, and it started to finally click with me to move up into and out of corners and not to tail gun, and things actually were looking pretty good. This race had this crazy turn right there, which meant sprinting, blasting out of it every single time. And so this race in particular was really, really, really important to be up there. And this corner was difficult with all this tar line. I was just not comfortable with this corner, and so I'd let gaps open up into this corner. But the main highlight here is, again, this positioning thing where if you're not closer to the first top 10, 15 guys, you're kind of out of the window for keeping your corners smooth and consistent, right? So when this happens, you're kind of stuck in this spot where you're kind of using way too much energy to corner, right? So this section here was a little bit of a headwind, so kind of bunched up a little bit. This was a good time to move up when you can, but you can see here I can move up, and that gets me in a good spot. But if you don't stay there the whole time, you're gonna get stuck with corners like this where yeah, this was relatively okay, but still blasting 1,000+ watts every single time. And if you're even further back, like you are here, it's just non-stop blasting every single lap. So it's really, really difficult in this race to do well unless you're up there the whole time. And today, unfortunately, I just was not up there, and I was just sprinting out of this corner every single time. And that eventually, over and over and over really wore on me. Now I get a little lucky here about just 17 laps into the race where when it eases up into that section out of the long stretch, you can move up, and that's when I moved up as best I could through each one of those times that would happen. But every once in a while there'd be a little bit of this going on in this corner which I just couldn't figure out, and I really just missed the line there and just absolutely kind of yelled to myself like, oh man, I let a gap open up here, and I just couldn't figure out that corner early enough, and that meant I had to close things down. So here you can see again when it bunches up, take as much spots as you can. Unfortunately this time I couldn't take any spots. This time I actually do move up significantly. We're at 28 laps in, and so I do take this opportunity here, which was good. I continue to move up. It's a little close here, but again, I stayed up there, and that means I could take this corner. And you can see it's like 700 watts instead of 1,000+ out of this corner when you're up in the front, which is exactly where you want to be. But we were close enough. There was some gaps opening up. I had to cover this, and so that ends up being in a good spot here is okay, but it does tend to be a little bit of a washing machine where you get up there and then people ease up and out of the home stretch there. And so this is the line I think I wanted to take inside, avoid all the tar, and then take that inside line and then kind of push out. So I eventually figured it out 32 laps into a 42 lap race. That's the line I wanted in that corner, but again, I think it's too late here because you can see it bunches up, and I lose all that positioning that I just had in the last couple laps of being up there. And so that means I had to cover gaps, and it just was, people were popping left and right here. So this race was incredibly difficult physically, and it really stemmed from, if you're not up there in good positioning, that means you're just covering things that you shouldn't have to cover if you're just up there in the first place. So here you can see gaps start opening up. I decide I want to cover this. And it wears on you. This whole race, it was brutal. It was one of the most brutal races I think I've ever had. It was incredibly hot, and so when you get to this point, you're kind of desperate, right? Like 38 laps out of 42, and we're lost contact with the front group now. And now it's dangerous. So Nick kind of sprinted there. I tried to follow him, but people are popping left and right. You can see here people popping there. And this gap is just not closing down. It doesn't look like it's crazy too far back if you count the numbers. Like there's maybe 20, 15 guys there maybe. But people are just, here you can see hand up. People are popping, and that was it. So this race was pretty brutal. It was my first 3-4 series, 5 days of it. I ended up ninth overall, 17th on the day to day, so wasn't terrible, but I was kind of surprised myself. Ninth overall in 3-4 series with a lot of guys. Pretty happy with that. The rest of the series I played out as a 4, and those races go incredibly bit better because of just how much I learned in this 3-4 field. So keep watching, subscribe if you want to see some more. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully you can see how the rest of this Toad series plays out.